Welcome back. Shalom. Shalom. Peace and blessings to each and every single one of you. Welcome back to the road trip. Mishpakat and friends. Cleveland friends. That's right. Welcome back. This is home. All right. Kingdom builders, road trippers. Akim and Akatim. Right? My brothers and my sisters. Mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, everybody in the house, in-laws. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to you, your homes, your dwelling places, where you stay at. Isn't that right? That's right. Your loved ones, your friends, your children, and your pets. And little fur babies. That's correct. So we're not going to do this too long. All right. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings, right? And all praises to the Most High. Abana Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Glory to Yahweh Shai. I think we need a little bit more water right here. Right? Glory to Yahweh Shai. Honors to the Ruach. Wisdom. That's correct. And my love and my respect to you. There we go. That's a proper dip in. There we go. All right. My love and my respect to you. And then we're going to go ahead and continue on here. We're back in the Jewish Antiquities. Air quotes on Jewish, right? Because we're talking about the Antiquities of the Yahudim. Chapter 2. Concerning the posterity of Adam and the 10 generations from him to the deluge, the flood, okay? So we're going to go ahead and read that real quick, and it's a little bit of cliff notes, and then we're going to go ahead and get ready for work tomorrow. All right, but we'll be back tomorrow night, all right? So if you have this out, if you have these scrolls, whether you have the hard copy or you're scrolling online with the blue screen, either way, if you want to follow along with me, that would be much advised. I'm going to read the best that I can with the most accuracy that I possibly can. I'm human. I'm not an AI, so you know how it goes. All right? So no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Jewish Antiquities, Chapter 2 of Book 1. Let's begin. All right, 1, and it reads, Adam and Eve had 2 sons. The elder of them was named Cain, which name, when it is interpreted, signifies a possession. The younger was Abel, which signifies sorrow, and had also daughters. Now the 2 brothers were pleased with different courses of life. For Abel the younger was a lover of righteousness, and believing that Yahweh was present at all his actions, he excelled in virtue, and his employment was that of a shepherd. But Cain was not only very wicked in other respects, but was wholly intent upon getting, right? And he first contrived to plow the ground. He killed his brother on the occasion following. They had resolved to sacrifice to Yahweh. Now Cain brought the first fruits of the earth and of his husbandry, but Abel brought milk and the first fruits of his flock. But Yahweh was more delighted with the latter sacrifice, when he was honored with that what grew naturally of his own accord, than he was with what was the invention of a covetous man, and gotten by forcing the ground. Thus it was that Cain was very angry with Abel, and preferred by Yahweh before him, and killed his brother, and hid his dead body, thinking to escape discovery. But Yahweh, knowing what had been done, came to Cain and asked him what was become of his brother, because he had not seen him in many days, whereas he used to observe the conversing together at all times. But Cain was in doubt with himself, and knew not what answer to give to Yahweh. At first he said that he was himself at a loss about his brother's disappearing. But when he was provoked by Yahweh, who pressed him vehemently, he resolved to know what the matter was. He replied, he was not his brother's guardian or keeper, nor was he an observer of what he did. But in return Yahweh convicted Cain as having been the murderer of his brother, and said, I wonder at you, that you know not what has become of a man whom you yourself have destroyed. Yahweh therefore did not inflict the punishment of death upon him on account of his offering sacrifice, but thereby making supplication to him not to be extreme in his wrath, but in his wrath to him. Right? So the only reason why he even kept him alive is because he did make that sacrifice. Whether it was good or bad, it was lesser, but he still made it. But he made him accursed, and threatened his posterity in the seventh generation. He also cast him together with his wife out of the land, and when he was afraid that in wandering about he should fall among wild beasts and not by that means perish, Yahweh directed him not to entertain such a melancholy suspicion, and to go over all the earth without fear of what mischief he might suffer from wild beasts, and setting a mark upon him that he might be known, he commanded him to depart. And we just talked about this tonight in one of our readings. All right, that's the end of chapter 1. That's the end of no, not chapter 1. But that's the end of all right, verse 1, I guess. Section 1. Okay, cool. Section 1, because these are chapters, but they're split up into sections. So we'll call these sections, because normally we're reading books with chapters, but these are chapters with sections. All right, so here we go. Section 2. And when Cain had traveled over many countries, he with his wife built a city named Nod, which is a place so called, and there he settled his abode, where also he had children. However, he did not accept of his punishment in order to amendment. No, he didn't. But to increase his wickedness, for he only aimed to procure everything that was for his own bodily pleasure, though it obliged him to be injurious to his neighbors. He augmented his household substance with much wealth by plunder and violence. He urged his followers to procure pleasures and spoils by robbery, and became a great leader of men into wicked courses. He also introduced a change in that way of simplicity wherein men lived before, and was the author of measures and weights. And whereas they lived innocently and generously, while they knew nothing of such arts, he changed the world into cunning craftiness. He, first of all, set boundaries about lands. He built a city and fortified it with walls, and he compelled his family to come together to it, and called that city Enoch, after the name of his eldest son Enoch. Now Irad was the son of Enoch, whose name was Malaleel, Mahul-Jalil, whose name was Methuselah, whose son was Lamech, who had 77 children by 2 wives, Zillah and Adah. Of those children by Adah was one Jabal, and erected tents and loved the life of a shepherd. But Jubal, who was born of the same mother with him, exercised himself in music and invented the psaltery and the harp. But Tubal-Cain, one of his children by the other wife, exceeded all men in strength, and was very expert and famous in martial performances. He procured what tended to the pleasures of the body by that method, and first of all invented the art of making brass. Lamech was also the father of a daughter whose name was Naamah, and because he was so skillful in matters of divine revelation that he knew he was to be punished for Cain's murder of his brother, he made that known to his wives. Even while Adam was alive, it came to pass that the posterity of Cain became exceedingly wicked, everyone successively dying, one after another, more wicked than the former. They were intolerable in war and vehement in robberies. And if anyone were slow to murder people, yet was he bold in his immoral behavior and acting unjustly and doing injuries for gain. That's the end of section 2. Final section, section 3, and then we're going to read the post little scripts, okay? Section 3, and it reads, Now Adam, who was the first man and made out of the earth, for our discourse, must now be about him. But Abel was killed, and Cain fled away on account of his murder, was solicitous for posterity, and had a vehement desire of children, he being 230 years old, after which time he lived other 700 and then died. He had indeed many other children, but Seth in peculiar. As for the rest, it would be tedious to name them. I will therefore only try to give an account of those that proceeded from Seth. Now this Seth, when he was brought up, he came to those years in which he could discern what was good, became a virtuous man, and as he was himself of an excellent character, so did he leave children behind him who imitated his virtues. All these proved to be of good dispositions. They also inhabited the same country without dissensions, and in a happy condition, without any misfortunes falling upon them until they died. They also were the inventors of that peculiar sort of wisdom which is concerned with the heavenly bodies and their order, and that their inventions might not be lost before they were sufficiently known upon Adam's prediction that the world was to be destroyed at one time by the force of fire, and another time by the violence and quantity of water. They made two pillars, the one of brick and the other of stone. They inscribed their discoveries on them both, that in case the pillar of brick should be destroyed by the flood, the pillar of stone might remain, and exhibit those discoveries to mankind, and also inform them that there was another pillar of brick erected by them. Now this remains in the land of Syriad, or Cirrus to this day. All right, that's the end of section 3. All right, let's read these. Let's read some of these. Oh yeah, I want to see what this says. It might kind of sum up what we just read. Let's check it out. All right, these are some of the add-ons. Add-on number 1, it says, St. John, St. John. John's account of the reason by Yahweh accepted the sacrifice of Abel and rejected that of Cain, as also why Cain killed Abel on account of that his acceptance with Yahweh is much better than this of Josephus. I mean, because Cain was the evil one and killed his brother, and why killed he him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. Reference 1 John 3 and 12. Josephus's reason seems to be no better than a Pharisaical notion or tradition. All right, 2. Point number 2. From this Jubal, not improbably, came Jobel, the trumpet of Jobel or Jubilee, the large and loud musical instrument used in proclaiming the liberty at the year of Jubilee. All right, point number 3. The number of Adam's children, as says, the old tradition was 33 sons and 23 daughters. Point number 4. What is here said of Seth and his posterity, that they were good, very good and virtuous, and at the same time very happy, without any considerable misfortunes for 7 generations. See sections 2.1 before and 3.1 hereafter. Is exactly agreeable to the state of the world and the conduct of providence in all the first ages. Let's read point 5. Of Josephus's mistake here, when he took Seth, the son of Adam, for Seth, or Sesostris, king of Mizraim, the erector of the pillar, in the land of Syriad, Cirrus, see essay on the Old Testament, appendix pages 159 through 160. Although the main of this relation might be true, and Adam might foretell a conflagration and a deluge, with all antiquity witnesses to be an ancient tradition, Seth's posterity might engrave the inventions of astronomy on 2 such pillars, yet it is no way credible that they should or could survive the deluge, which has buried all such pillars in edifices far underground in the sediment of its waters, especially since the like pillars of the Egyptian Seth or Sesostris were extant after the flood. That's right, in the land of Syriad, and perhaps in the days of Josephus also, as is known in the place here referred to. That's the end of chapter 2. All right. And sorry for the late drop tonight. I was trying to catch both of my brothers, Akeem, my Akeem. They had a live stream tonight, and I wanted to be present for it. So I went ahead and I put mine to the back burner, had some dinner after I got off work, and I wanted to go ahead and, just focus on somebody else's, content for this evening. So I dropped mine late. And on the next read, we're going to pick up on chapter 3, which is concerning the flood, and after what manner Noah was saved in the ark with his family, right? And afterwards dwelt in the plain of Shinar. And you know what Shinar is, right? Yeah, the plain of Shinar. Nebuchadnezzar, right? Babylon. All right, so anyway, we'll talk about Shinar on the next one. But anyway, all praises to the Most High. Please be safe out there as you travel up and down the roads, going to and from work. We're coming up on Shabbat Eve pretty soon, so just push through a little further. Get through this week. You got it. And whenever you feel weak, just give it to the Most High. He's got you. All right. So please be safe out there. And as always, the program. All praises to the Most High. I'll see you all very soon. I love you. Yeah.